The text came on a Thursday morning while I was reviewing acquisition reports for my luxury furniture empire. My cousin Jessica's message was as blunt as always. "Hi Samantha. Just wanted to let you know about the baby shower next Saturday. Don't worry about bringing gifts. Honestly, you probably can't afford what we want anyway. The registry is all high-end designer items for the nursery. Just come and enjoy the party. Hugs and kisses." I set down my phone and looked out the floor-to-ceiling windows of my corner office at Sterling Design Group headquarters. For 5 years, my family had assumed I was barely surviving as a furniture store clerk, completely unaware that I owned the largest luxury furniture manufacturing and retail empire on the West Coast. Sterling Design Group controlled 17 high-end furniture stores, 3 custom manufacturing facilities, and an exclusive interior design service that catered to celebrities, tech billionaires, and Fortune 500 executives. Our annual revenue hit $847 million last year, and our custom nursery division alone generated more profit than most furniture chains' total sales. But to my family, I was Samantha the failure who never went to college and worked retail. "Okay," I texted back simply. "See you Saturday." Then I picked up my phone and called Marcus, my head of custom manufacturing. "Marcus, I need a rush order for this weekend. Pull out all the stops." The assumptions about my life started 6 years ago when I moved out of my parents' house to start my business. I'd saved $47,000 from working various jobs through high school and community college, and I used that money to buy my first distressed property, an abandoned furniture warehouse in the industrial district. While my cousins Jessica and Michael were pursuing expensive 4-year degrees and taking unpaid internships, I was learning the furniture business from the ground up. I spent my days refinishing antique pieces, studying design trends, and building relationships with craftsmen who'd been pushed out of work by cheap mass production. My family saw me covered in sawdust, driving a beat-up pickup truck and working 16-hour days. They assumed I was struggling. "Samantha's going through a rough patch," I'd overhear Mom explaining to relatives. "She's trying to make it work with some little furniture project, but it's not really going anywhere." Jessica, 5 years younger than me, graduated from USC with a business degree and immediately landed a marketing coordinator position at a tech startup. Michael got his finance degree and joined an investment firm as an analyst. Both of them rented trendy apartments, leased luxury cars, and documented their successful young professional lives on social media. I, meanwhile, was living in a small apartment above my workshop, driving a truck filled with furniture samples, and wearing thrift store clothes covered in wood stain. What they didn't see was the business growing exponentially behind the scenes. Within 18 months, I'd renovated the warehouse into a showroom and workshop that caught the attention of several high-end interior designers. My custom pieces, handcrafted furniture that combined traditional techniques with modern aesthetics, started selling for prices that shocked even me. A coffee table I'd built for $400 in materials sold for $3,200. A dining set that cost me $1,100 to make brought in $8,500. A custom entertainment center generated a $12,000 profit. By year 2, I had 6 full-time craftsmen working for me and a waiting list of clients. By year 3, I'd opened my first retail location in the design district. By year 4, I owned 4 stores and was manufacturing furniture for other luxury retailers across 3 states. But I maintained the same modest lifestyle. Same small apartment, same work truck, same simple clothes. My family's assumptions about my struggles became a convenient cover for building an empire they couldn't imagine. The real irony was that Jessica and Michael, despite their impressive degrees and professional jobs, were constantly stressed about money. Jessica lived paycheck to paycheck in her expensive apartment, making minimum payments on $67,000 in student loans. Michael drove a leased BMW he couldn't actually afford and regularly borrowed money from his parents to cover his credit card bills. Yet they pitted me for my failure to launch. Jessica's pregnancy announcement 6 months ago had triggered the family's protective instincts. She and her husband David, a software engineer, were struggling to afford the perfect nursery she'd envisioned for their first child. "Everything for babies is so expensive," she complained during Sunday dinner at our aunt's house. "A decent crib costs $800 minimum. The good car seats are $400. Don't even get me started on the rocking chairs and changing tables. You have to invest in quality for children," Aunt Patricia advised. Safety and durability are worth the extra cost. I know, but David and I are already stretched thin with the mortgage and my student loans. I want our baby to have beautiful things, but everything I like is way out of our budget. That's when the family looked at me with that familiar mixture of sympathy and condescension. Maybe Samantha could help you find some nice pieces, Mom suggested gently. She knows about furniture and I'm sure she could point you towards some affordable options. Jessica smiled politely but dismissively. Thanks, but we're really looking for high-end designer pieces. Like the nursery sets from Sterling Design Group. They're absolutely gorgeous but completely out of our league. Their basic nursery package starts at $15,000. I nearly choked on my wine. Sterling Design Group was my company. The basic nursery package she was referring to was our entry-level offering, which included a handcrafted crib, changing table, rocking chair, and dresser made from sustainable hardwoods with custom finishes. That does sound expensive, I agreed carefully. Expensive? It's insane, Jessica continued. But their stuff is like furniture art. Celebrities buy from them. Tech CEOs in Silicon Valley have their whole houses done by Sterling. I saw an article about how they designed a $200,000 nursery for some billionaire's baby. She pulled out her phone and showed the family photos from our website. Look at this craftsmanship. Every piece is made by hand by master craftsmen. They use woods that are sustainably sourced from specific forests. The hardware is custom cast bronze. Even their paint is some special non-toxic formula that costs more than regular furniture stores charge for entire bedroom sets. The family gathered around Jessica's phone, admiring photos of furniture I'd personally designed and supervised the creation of. It's beautiful, Mom agreed, but probably not practical for your budget. Definitely not, Jessica sighed. David and I will be lucky to afford anything half this nice. We'll probably end up at one of those big box stores buying particle board furniture that falls apart in 2 years. I listened to this conversation with growing amazement. My cousin was literally showing my family my own work while lamenting that people like us could never afford such luxury. Maybe you could save up and buy one piece at a time, I suggested. Start with the most important item and add to the nursery gradually. Jessica laughed. Samantha, these pieces cost more than some people make in a month. The rocking chair alone is $4,200. That's rent money for most people. What she didn't know was that the $4,200 rocking chair she was admiring had a material cost of $380 and took one of our master craftsmen about 12 hours to complete. The markup reflected not just the quality of craftsmanship, but the exclusivity of owning something made by artisans who typically only worked for clients worth hundreds of millions of dollars. As Jessica's due date approached, the family rallied around helping her create the perfect nursery within her limited budget. Mom organized shopping trips to discount furniture stores. Aunt Patricia researched budget-friendly decorating ideas. Michael offered to help David assemble whatever furniture they decided to buy. I was notably excluded from these planning sessions. Samantha doesn't really understand the baby furniture market, I overheard Jessica explaining to her mother-in-law. She's sweet, but she's never had kids or been around expensive baby stuff. We need advice from people who know what they're talking about. The baby shower planning revealed even more about how my family perceived my financial situation. We should keep the gift registry reasonable, Jessica told Mom during one of their planning calls. I don't want to put people in awkward positions by asking for things they can't afford. What do you mean? Well, like Samantha. She's probably struggling just to buy a shower gift at all. I don't want her to feel bad about not being able to contribute to the big items. That's when Jessica sent me the text telling me not to bring gifts. The message was meant to be kind, a way to spare me the embarrassment of showing up empty-handed or buying something obviously cheap. But it revealed exactly how little my family understood about my actual circumstances. They had no idea that I could have bought Jessica's entire registry without checking my bank balance. They had no idea that the furniture they were admiring online was created in workshops I owned, by craftsmen I employed, using designs I'd personally approved. They had no idea that this struggling furniture store clerk they pitted was actually wealthier than all of them combined. Saturday arrived with perfect spring weather. Jessica's baby shower was being held at Aunt Patricia's house, with the backyard decorated in soft pastels and gold accents. About 30 women were invited, family members, college friends, and co-workers from Jessica's marketing job. I arrived at 2 p.m. wearing a simple blue dress and carrying only my purse. Several relatives hugged me and made gentle comments about how glad they were I could make it, even without bringing anything. "It's so thoughtful of Jessica to make sure everyone feels included," Aunt Patricia whispered to me. "Not everyone can afford the kind of gift she really needs." The shower followed the typical format. Games, food, conversation about pregnancy and babies. Jessica opened gifts for about an hour, receiving some lovely items from her registry, including a $300 high chair from her college friends, a $180 baby monitor from her coworkers, and a beautiful handmade quilt from our grandmother. She was gracious about each gift, but I could see the disappointment in her eyes. The expensive nursery items she'd really wanted, the designer crib, the luxury rocking chair, the custom changing table, remained unpurchased on her registry. "Everything is so beautiful," she said, trying to sound enthusiastic about the collection of practical but modest gifts. "The baby is going to be so loved." At 4:30 p.m., just as the party was winding down and guests were starting to say their goodbyes, a large truck pulled up in front of the house. "Sterling Design Group" was painted in elegant script across the side of the vehicle. Jessica froze mid-conversation, staring at the truck with confusion. "That's weird," she said. "Why would Sterling Design Group be here?" The delivery team, 3 men in professional uniforms, began unloading an enormous collection of carefully wrapped furniture pieces. Each item was covered in protective blankets and secured with custom straps that bore the Sterling logo. "Delivery for Jessica Martinez," the lead driver announced, consulting his clipboard. "We have a complete Windsor nursery collection, plus additional custom pieces." The backyard went completely silent. "I think there's been a mistake," Jessica stammered. "I didn't order anything from Sterling Design Group. I can't afford." "No mistake, ma'am. We have the order right here, paid in full. Custom nursery set in white oak with hand-forged bronze hardware. Includes crib, changing table, dresser, rocking chair, toy chest, and bookshelf. Also includes custom mobile, personalized name sign, and matching window treatments." The delivery team began carefully carrying the pieces into the house, following the layout instructions they'd been given for Jessica's nursery. Family members followed in stunned silence as thousands of dollars worth of furniture was arranged with professional precision. The crib alone, a masterpiece of traditional joinery and modern safety features, represented more craftsmanship than most people saw in a lifetime. "This is impossible," Jessica whispered, running her hands over the smooth finish of the rocking chair. "This furniture costs more than our car. There must be a gift card or something," Mom suggested, looking around frantically for an explanation. That's when the lead driver handed Jessica a small envelope. "This came with the order, ma'am." Jessica opened it with shaking hands and read the card aloud. "Congratulations on your beautiful baby. May this nursery be filled with as much love as went into creating each piece. From your poor cousin who can't afford what you want. Love, Samantha." Every head in the room turned toward me. I smiled and pulled out my phone, opening the Sterling Design Group website and navigating to my personal profile page. "Actually," I said calmly, "I can afford exactly what you want. Because I make what you want." I handed Jessica my phone, showing her the Meet Our Founder page with my photo and biography. "Samantha Sterling, founder and CEO of Sterling Design Group." Jessica read aloud, her voice getting smaller with each word. Founded in 2019, Sterling Design Group has become the West Coast's premier luxury furniture manufacturer and retailer, serving an exclusive clientele of celebrities, tech entrepreneurs, and design professionals. The silence in the room was deafening. "Under Sterling's leadership," Jessica continued reading, "the company has grown from a single workshop to 17 retail locations and 3 manufacturing facilities, with annual revenues exceeding $800 million. Aunt Patricia sank into the nearest chair. Sterling Design Group's custom nursery division has created exclusive furniture collections for some of the world's most discerning parents, with pieces featured in Architectural Digest, Elle Decor, and Luxury Home Design magazine. Jessica looked up from the phone, tears streaming down her face. "Samantha, you own Sterling Design Group?" "I am Sterling Design Group," I confirmed. "I founded the company 6 years ago with $47,000 in savings and a vision for bringing traditional craftsmanship into the modern luxury market." But you work in a furniture store," Mom stammered. I own 17 furniture stores, plus 3 manufacturing facilities where we employ 340 craftsmen, designers, and support staff. The magnitude of their misunderstanding was slowly sinking in. The truck you see me driving around town? I continued. It's for delivery and quality control visits to our retail locations. The little apartment I live in? It's actually a penthouse loft I designed above our flagship showroom. The work clothes covered in sawdust? I still personally oversee the creation of our most exclusive pieces. Jessica was staring at the furniture surrounding her. Furniture that represented months of skilled labor and design expertise. This nursery set, how much did it cost? Retail value is $78,400, I said simply. But it's not about the money, Jessica. It's about the fact that you've spent 5 years assuming I was failing at life while I was actually building something extraordinary. We never meant. Aunt Patricia started. I know you never meant to be cruel, I interrupted. You thought you were being protective, sympathetic. You pitied me for my apparent struggles and tried to shield me from embarrassment. I gestured toward the beautiful nursery furniture. But your pity was based on complete ignorance about my actual life. You assumed that because I didn't follow your traditional path, college degree, corporate job, conventional lifestyle, I must be unsuccessful. The room was filled with shame-faced relatives trying to process what they'd learned. Jessica, do you remember telling me I didn't understand the baby furniture market? She nodded miserably. I literally created the luxury baby furniture market on the West Coast. The design trends you've been following? The safety innovations you've been researching? The sustainable wood sourcing you've been reading about? My company pioneered most of those developments. Oh my God, Jessica whispered. When you showed the family photos from my website and explained why people like us could never afford such luxury, you were talking to the person who designed those pieces, supervised their creation and set their prices. I pulled up another page on my phone. This article you mentioned about the $200,000 nursery for a billionaire's baby? I personally managed that project. The client was a tech CEO whose company you've probably heard of. His wife wanted a nursery that incorporated elements from their childhoods in different countries. So we sourced woods from sustainable forests in 5 different nations and incorporated traditional joinery techniques from 3 different cultures. The complexity of that project, and the expertise it represented, was clearly beyond anything my family had imagined I was capable of. But why didn't you ever tell us? Mom asked. Because you never asked, I said simply. You made assumptions and then treated those assumptions as facts. When I tried to offer advice about furniture or design, you dismissed it because you thought I was just a retail clerk. We feel terrible, Jessica said through her tears. Don't feel terrible. Feel curious. For the first time in 5 years, ask me about my actual life instead of assuming you already know what it looks like. The conversation that followed lasted another 2 hours. Family members wanted to understand how I'd built such a successful business while they thought I was struggling. They asked about my design process, my manufacturing techniques, my client relationships. Jessica was particularly interested in learning about the nursery she'd just received. Every piece was handcrafted by our master furniture maker, Carlos Rodriguez, I explained. He's been working with wood for 37 years and specializes in pieces that will last for generations. The white oak came from a sustainable forest in Oregon that we've been working with since our 2nd year in business. The bronze hardware? Cast by hand in our metal shop using techniques that date back to the 1800s. Each handle and hinge is unique, with slight variations that prove it was made by human hands rather than machines. The finish. 7 coats of hand-rubbed tung oil that will protect the wood for decades while maintaining its natural beauty. It's completely non-toxic and actually gets more beautiful with age and use. As I described the craftsmanship that went into her nursery, Jessica's appreciation for the gift deepened. But more importantly, her understanding of who I really was began to change. Samantha, I owe you an enormous apology, she said finally. Not just for the text about not bringing gifts, but for 5 years of treating you like you didn't know what you were talking about. We all owe you an apology, Mom added. We've been so blind. You weren't blind, I corrected. You were making logical assumptions based on limited information. The problem was that you never sought additional information. You never asked deeper questions about my work or my goals. I looked around the room at my family members, seeing them really look at me for the first time in years. I maintained the fiction because it was easier than constantly correcting your assumptions. But also because I wanted to see if your love for me was conditional on my achievements. And now? Jessica asked. Now you know the truth. And we can build relationships based on reality instead of assumptions. The baby shower ended with Jessica giving me the longest hug we'd shared since childhood, surrounded by furniture that represented not just my business success, but my commitment to family despite years of being underestimated. As I drove home in my beat-up truck, actually a custom-modified vehicle I used for transporting valuable antiques and prototype pieces, I reflected on how the day had changed everything. My family finally knew who I really was. But more importantly, I'd learned something about them. When confronted with their mistakes, they didn't make excuses or deflect blame. They apologized sincerely and asked thoughtful questions about my life. That gave me hope that our relationships could evolve beyond the limiting assumptions that had defined them for so long. 3 weeks later, Jessica gave birth to a beautiful daughter named Sophia. When I visited them in the hospital, Jessica pulled me aside. Samantha, I have a confession. I've been researching your company obsessively since the shower. I had no idea how respected you are in the design world. The reviews from your clients, the features in magazines, the awards you've won. I'm not just sorry for underestimating you. I'm proud of you. Thank you, I said simply. Also, she continued with a smile, when Sophia is old enough for a big girl bedroom, would you consider designing something special for her? I promise to pay full price. I laughed and hugged my cousin, looking over at tiny Sophia sleeping peacefully in her hospital bassinet. For Sophia, I think we can work out a family discount. After all, she was going to grow up in a family that finally understood the difference between assumptions and reality. And that, more than any piece of furniture, was the most valuable gift I could give her.